Your baby has been trying to tell you something for weeks, not with words. They don't know how to use them yet, but they say it anyway, with every glance, every cry, every time they reach their arms toward you or turn their head away. And the moment you understand what it means, you will never look at your baby the same way again. Most parents think they're doing everything right. The bottle on time, the bath, the colorful toys, the right clothing for the temperature. But there's a deeper layer, one that most parenting books never mention, and that science has been quietly documenting for decades. The gap between what your baby truly needs and what they're actually getting isn't always visible, but it's felt. And over time, it becomes the difference between a child who trusts the world and one who is afraid of it. Stay until the end, because the last point is the one that changes everything. Welcome to Silent Baby Mind. If you're a parent or caregiver and you want to truly understand your baby, subscribe right now. Let's get into it. Point 1. The first 5 minutes of the morning are programming your baby's brain. This is something almost no one in the parenting world says out loud, and it sounds so simple that most people will brush past it without a second thought. But if you only apply one thing from this entire video, make it this one. The first few minutes after your baby wakes up are not just the start of another day. They are an active neurological experience. A baby's brain, especially in the first 2 years of life, is in a state of plasticity that neuroscientists compare to fresh clay. Everything that happens in those initial moments leaves a mark, not metaphorically, literally, at the level of neural circuits. When a baby wakes up, the first thing their nervous system does is look for a safety signal. Their prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for regulating emotions, is not yet developed. It cannot calm itself. It cannot reason. It cannot decide that everything is okay. It needs someone to show it. And here is the modern problem. Many parents walk into the baby's room while still looking at their phone, or in a rush, or carrying the energy of, "I need to do this quickly because the day has already started." And the baby, who doesn't understand words but reads body language with a precision that would embarrass any communication expert, receives that signal. The signal that says, there is tension in the world. A study published in the journal Development and Psychopathology found that babies whose caregivers responded with calm and consistent eye contact during waking moments showed significantly lower cortisol levels, the stress hormone, throughout the rest of the day. You don't need to do anything elaborate. Walk in slowly. Leave the phone outside. Find their eyes. Smile first before speaking, before picking them up, before checking if the diaper needs changing. Just that fraction of a second of visual connection with a calm face tells their brain what no educational toy ever could. The world is safe. I am here. You can breathe. A baby who wakes up like that is not just a calmer baby that morning. They are a baby whose nervous system is learning, repetition after repetition, that the world is a place where they can trust, and they carry that with them for the rest of their life. Point 2. Your baby is not crying to manipulate you. They're speaking the only language they have. How many times have you heard this? Don't pick them up every time they cry, you'll spoil them. It's one of the most widespread pieces of advice in the history of parenting, and one of the most damaging ones that exists. Not because the people who say it are bad people, but because it starts from a completely wrong premise that a baby is capable of manipulation. A 4-month-old does not have the brain structure needed for manipulation. Manipulation requires theory of mind, the ability to understand that another person has thoughts different from your own and to act accordingly to influence them. That ability doesn't appear until around 4 years of age, and even then only in a rudimentary form. What a 4-month-old does have is a perfectly designed biological alarm system. Crying is not a whim. It is an activation signal from the nervous system that communicates an unmet need, hunger, pain, cold, fear, sensory overload, need for contact. The baby doesn't choose to cry. Their body does it automatically, just like yours sweats when you're hot. And here's the part that science made very clear, starting in the 1970s, when psychologist Mary Ainsworth first documented what we now know as attachment theory. Babies whose parents respond consistently and sensitively to their crying do not become more dependent. They become more secure, more independent, more capable of exploring the world on their own when the time comes. Why? Because their nervous system learned that when they send an alarm signal, someone responds. That they are not alone in the chaos of their emotions, that the world is predictable, and that there is someone trustworthy in it. A baby whose crying is systematically ignored does not learn to self-soothe. They learn that asking for help is pointless, and that lesson, engraved in the deepest circuits of the brain, can last for decades. The next time your baby cries, before waiting to see if they calm down on their own, ask yourself a different question. What are they trying to tell me? That question changes everything. Point 3. The way you talk to them is building or destroying their brain. Do you talk to your baby throughout the day? Do you narrate what you're doing? Do you tell them what you see out the window, what you're preparing to eat, what the thing they just touched with their hand is called? If you do, you are doing something far more powerful than you realize. If you don't, start today. For decades, researchers have known that the number of words a baby hears in their first 3 years of life has a direct correlation with their vocabulary, their academic performance, and their reasoning ability at age 9. This finding, known as the 30 million word gap, documented by researcher Betty Hart, shook the world of early education. But there is something more recent that goes even further. It's not just the quantity of words that matters, it's the quality of the interaction. A 2018 MIT study used brain scans to compare the neurological development of children based on the type of conversation they had with their parents. And the result was clear. What impacted brain development most was not how much parents talked, but how much they responded. If the baby made a sound and the adult picked it up, imitated it, gave a response that created activation in areas of the brain related to language, cognition, and emotional regulation. This is called conversational turn-taking, and it happens even before the baby knows how to speak. When your baby babbles and you respond as if they're telling you something important, when you mirror their tone, when you ask, "Really? And what else?" you are not being silly. You are being exactly what their brain needs. And tone matters too. Babies are extraordinarily sensitive to emotional tone. They don't understand words, but they read prosody, the rhythm and melody of speech, with astonishing precision. A warm tone, slightly higher pitched, what researchers call infant-directed speech, and what most parents adopt instinctively, activates areas of the baby's brain related to pleasure and bonding. This is not sentimentality. It's neuroscience. Your voice is one of the most powerful developmental tools your baby will ever have access to. Use it. Point 4. Play is not entertainment. It's the most serious work your baby does. When was the last time you played with your baby for real? Not with a TV on in the background. Not while mentally running through your to-do list. For real. Present. On the floor. In their world. Because there is an enormous difference between entertaining a baby and playing with them. And that difference is the reason so many babies who have every toy in the world are still restless, irritable, and hard to settle. Play for a baby is not leisure. It is the primary mechanism through which their brain learns to understand the physics of the world, cause and effect, social relationships, emotional regulation, and their own identity. When a 6-month-old drops an object on the floor and you pick it up, and they drop it again. They are not being naughty. They are doing science. They are verifying a hypothesis. Does the same thing keep happening if I do it again? Is the world predictable? Does this person keep responding? And when a 10-month-old makes a funny sound and you laugh and they repeat it, they are not seeking attention. They are discovering that they have an effect on the world, that their actions generate reactions, that they matter. A study published in the journal Child Development found that babies who participated in interactive play sessions with a caregiver, real play, face-to-face, with contingent response, showed greater sustained attention, better emotional regulation, and more secure attachment bonds than babies with access to more toys but less real interaction. Real play looks like this. You are on the floor with your baby. No screens. You follow their gaze, what catches their attention, what they reach for. You name it. You react when they react. You laugh when they laugh. You let them set the pace. That kind of play doesn't require expensive toys. It requires presence. And for your baby, your real presence, your face, your voice, your response, is the most sophisticated toy that exists. Point 5. Your baby also needs to not be stimulated. We live in a culture that has turned early stimulation into an obsession. Classical music from the womb, black and white pattern cards, spinning mobiles, baby apps, swimming classes at 3 months old. And parents who don't do all of that feel like they're failing. Something needs to be said that is rarely spoken out loud. Overstimulation is a real problem, and many babies are living it without anyone calling it by its name. A baby's nervous system is immature. It doesn't have the filters an adult has to process and discard sensory information. Every sound, every light, every movement, every new face enters with full intensity. And when there is too much for too long, the system collapses. The signs of sensory overload in a baby are subtle and easy to misread. Looking away, turning to the side, arching their back, becoming suddenly irritable, bringing their hands to their face, yawning even though they're not tired. Most parents, seeing these signals, do exactly the opposite of what the baby needs. They increase the stimulation, they add more sounds, they move them more. They show them more things. They try to distract them. What the baby needs in that moment is the opposite. Calm, stillness, dim light, silence, or soft white noise. Quiet contact with no demands. A baby who learns that they can withdraw from the world when they need to, and that this withdrawal is respected, is learning something that many adults still haven't figured out: how to recognize their own limits and honor them. Give your baby moments with no agenda. Moments where they don't have to process, learn, respond, or perform. Moments where they can simply exist. That is not lazy parenting. It is respect for their nervous system. Point 6. When your baby looks for you with their eyes, they're doing something extraordinary. There is a moment that happens many times a day and that most parents don't recognize for what it truly is. Your baby is playing on the floor. They explore a toy. They look away. And suddenly, in the middle of all of that, they turn their head and look for you with their eyes. They find you. You see they're okay. You smile. They go back to playing. That exchange lasted 2 seconds, and it was one of the most important things that happened today in your baby's development. Developmental psychologists call this social referencing. It is the process through which a baby uses their caregiver's emotional reaction to evaluate whether a situation is safe or not. They don't have the experience or the cognition to know on their own, but you do, and they know it. When they look for you with their eyes in a moment of uncertainty and you are there, calm, available, that tells them you can keep going. It's safe. I see you. When they look for you and you're not looking, When you're on your phone or looking the other way, their brain registers something different. Not dramatically, not in a single moment, but in the repetition, in the hundreds of times this happens over weeks and months, a belief is quietly being built. Am I seen when it matters? The answer to that question, built silently in the first 2 years of life, forms the foundation of how that person will relate to others for the rest of their life. Whether they will be able to ask for help, whether they will trust that others will be there, whether they will feel secure enough to explore the world. All of that begins in that 2-second moment where your baby turns their head and looks for you, and you are there. Think back over everything we covered today. The first minutes of the morning that tell your baby's brain whether the world is safe. The response to crying that teaches them that asking for help works. The voice that builds neural circuits with every syllable. The real play that tells them they matter and that they have an effect on the world. The rest without stimulation that respects the limits of their nervous system. And the 2-second glance that says, I see you, you're okay, you can keep going. None of these things cost money. None of them require a university degree. None of them need a special schedule or a specific product. They only require presence, attention, the decision to understand your baby not as someone to be managed, but as someone who is already communicating with you all the time with every means they have. And once you start seeing it that way, you will never look at the cries, the glances, the quiet moments, or the chaotic ones the same way again. Because they were never noise. They were conversations. And you were exactly the person your baby needed on the other side. If this video changed the way you see your baby, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe, like, turn on notifications, and leave a comment telling us which of these behaviors you recognized in your child. We read every single one. See you in the next video.